Hey guys, welcome to day 6. Today is about forgiveness when it comes to our parents. This was a huge thing for me because I've had to forgive both my parents and really learn to build a new relationship with them. Unfortunately, my father had passed away prior to me doing this work, but that is a whole nother story, which we will actually get to um, later this week. So, um, many of us have a lot of resentment and anger about how our parents behave and how we think that they should be different than from how they are. Two of the things that completely changed my relationship, especially with my mother, are letting go of my manual and reestablishing a relationship with her as me being an adult, which is different from when I was a kid. That pain is over. I can reestablish my relationship with her as an adult, and it doesn't have to be based on my past with her. And I always like to give credit for things that I'm about to share. So I learned all of this from my mentor, Brooke Castillo from the Life Coach School. She's just an amazing woman that really helps teach about like unconditional love. I don't think she calls it that, but that's basically what it is. And I love it. I just eat it up. So, what is the manual, you might ask? The manual is an instruction guide that we use to determine how people should interact or behave around us. For an example, a good mom should not let me go into foster care. A good dad should not say things like whatever it is to his daughter. My husband should buy me flowers on my birthday. My friend should tell me happy birthday on my birthday. These are all like legit things I've had to deal with in my own life, but um, these are all like my instructions of how people should interact with me, and you have your own instructions of how people should interact and behave around you. And if they don't, there's like this emotional price to pay. Maybe there's like bitterness when you see them, or like an attitude, or just immediate resentment. And it's about you controlling your emotions around them. So um to get back with my mom, I grew up in foster care and I ran away when I was 15. And since I was 15, my mom's lived with me many times, including now. We have an apartment underneath our house and we care for her. And I wouldn't have it any other way. But every time she would live with us, it would end up with us constantly fighting. And I just didn't understand why she was the way she was. And I wanted her to change. And it would get to the point where I'd feel so resentful, and all the pain from the past that I was like trying to relive in the moment would come up, and I would say really ugly things to her. I'd say a good portion of people have a lot of resentment and anger about how their parents behave and how they think that they should behave differently. And as long as we hold on to that belief system, we're always going to struggle in that relationship and have that pain. So, a great assignment that I feel is super helpful is to see what your manual is. And I'll post a digital worksheet that you can actually type it in, and you'll have a place that you can store it. And that way you remember where it's at. And if you ever need to read it again, you can definitely do that. So, the best way to do this is to ask yourself, whether it's a mother or father, what should your mother, and I'm going to refer to mother interchangeably with maybe just parent, but because that's the work that I had to do, and that's where I'm doing this work here and sharing that with you. So what should your mother be like, and what should she do, and why should she do that? Like, go for what you think the best mother is, and like what she would say. Would she call you? How often would she come over? How would you do the holidays? How would she interact with your kids? How would she interact with your husband or wife? Um, and really type out everything that you wish and everything you want and why you want it. Like, why do you want your mom to do all these things? Why do you think she should do all of the things that you're asking of, or you're thinking about as a good mother should do? What isn't she doing that you want her to do? Um, if there's something that she does that annoys you, write the opposite of what that is instead of what she does. How do you want her to behave? And like really set your expectations high of what you really think a good mother should do. And ask yourself, this is a big important question. Why do you want that? And really just let loose of all your thoughts and stuff like that, because it's really important. Your what you write down is telling you what you're thinking about. um so this is the first step to forgiving and healing, is to label your expectations, to note them, to be aware of them, of what you think a good parent should be. And this is a this expectation of what a good mother should be is what's causing our pain. That was what it was for me, is I was expecting all these different things. She should, not be paranoid schizophrenic. She should, like not think that people are seeing her through the TV, like all these different things that I thought were just kind of like ridiculous to me, but they were real for her. It's really who she was. um, she was failing all of my expectations, and that was causing a lot of tension, a lot of pain, and a lot of hardship between us, because I really thought that she should be different. So I know a lot of people will say, well, all these things that I want, they're reasonable. It's what, like, the Leave It to Beaver, June Cleaver, I think was her name. Like, that's what, a mom would look like. And so it's justified, and it's what maybe who we are as parents, but it's not who our parent actually is. So when our manual doesn't match up to how our parents are, it causes pain. And then we blame the parent for causing us pain, and that leaves us powerless, because we think, well, if they would just change, then I can feel better. So we'll end up avoiding our moms or dads. And for me, that was like years and years and years. I mean, I could go like 10 years without talking to my mom, because I'm like, it's just easier if I don't see you, you don't see me. I don't have that pain. I don't have to think about it. But I didn't, like, even that caused me pain. I would feel like bitterness about that, and be like, well, every time I do talk to her, she's like needing money for something, and I'd have all these stories going on in my head. But those were all causing me pain, and then I felt powerless because she needed to change for me to love and accept her, and to have her in my life, and to meet my son and all that stuff. And so it was causing a lot of disconnecting. Um, and not talking to her, because again, she was not fulfilling the manual of what I thought she should be, and that just felt terrible. But all relationships are about allowing other people to be who they are, and managing our own thoughts around them, and allowing them to be exactly who they are without changing them, is where we get our peace and our connection with them. And the truth is, they did what they were able to do with what they had. So by dropping the manual and taking responsibility for my own feelings and my own life, and really accepting my mom for who she was, I was able to drop into a whole new relationship with her. And what it looks like is just allowing her to be who she is. So again, the manual, allowing her to be who she is, dropping my expectations, because expectations are not meeting um, who she actually is. And then the second part is reestablishing your relationship as an adult. And for many of us, to improve our relationship with our parents, we have to do it with a reset. And we have to really decide, okay, this is how things used to be, but this is how they're going to be. And for me, that was a huge thing, is I didn't have to accept that past. I didn't have to go back to when I was a kid and in her care, and before I got taken away, or while I was in foster care. I didn't have to relive that pain. That pain served me then, but it's not where I was now. And um, I could reset that and just decide, from now on, I want to be a daughter that is peaceful and compassionate, and just understanding. And that's how I present myself. I don't have control over her still to this day. She's still the same person that she is, but that's okay. So I wanted to share with you my, again, my model on this. And it was, for me, it was, I went into foster care. And again, both the same: circumstance, thoughts, feelings, actions, results. This is my unintentional. This is where I naturally went to and it made me feel terrible. This is where I decided to go to. But these circumstances did not change. So my thoughts was she chose men over me and my safety, which left me feeling resentful. The action is I wouldn't talk to her for years. And we had a broken relationship and I never gave her the opportunity to choose me for years. So my result came from my thinking. This thought produced this result. So over here, it's I went into foster care. Same thing. Here's our power line. This is where I get to decide how I want to feel. This felt terrible. I did not like it. This felt so much better. This felt like what I said, compassion, peace. Like those are all the things that I wanted. So the thought for this one is she did the best she could with what she had. I truly believe that. I believe every human being is doing the best they can with what they have. If they don't have love, they cannot give love. That's something that we really have to understand with other people is that they can't give what they don't have. So if they're doing the best that with what they have, then it kind of tells you where they stand within themselves. So that feeling left me feeling compassionate. The action is I would stop exploding on her. I mean, when I was 18, I slapped her in the face. When I was like pregnant with my son in my late 20s, I would slam doors on her. Even this past couple of years of her being here, the first year was, it wasn't really a year, it was like 6 months. There was a lot of tension because I started finding myself being that like child again, and it just felt terrible. And I was like, wait a minute, I am not an abandoned child. I am a grown woman in a safe environment who has the opportunity to care for her mother. Like, I really had to sit down and do this work because I wanted to get to a good place with her. So I stopped exploding on her and I let her be who she is. Now, when you give somebody that kind of space and let them be who they are, especially when it's a parent, the dynamic of the relationship really changes. And like I said, we do live together. I have an apartment underneath, and she has her own space that she lives in, and she's allowed to be who she is. We don't really argue. I haven't argued with my mom in probably a couple of years now. And she is doing the best she can with what she has. And I wrote myself a note that Maslow's hierarchy. I don't know if you've ever heard it, but the bottom is like your safety, your food and shelter and stuff. Most people who are in a lot of different situations in their life, they can't go to like self-actualization or you know doing the best, living their best life because they can't even get past that first level of feeling safe and having a place to live. And see, my mom never had that. And then when I moved her here, now she does have that. So it's been about 2.5 years of her being here. And in the past year, she had this inkling to start painting. And it's the first time she's ever felt like she can accomplish something, and she's making these incredible paintings, and she never even knew she had the talent. So like at 60 years old, she's just learning about herself because she's finally at a place where she has that safety and like the shelter and her needs are being met. So now she's starting to rise on the hierarchy of self actualization. But it's just really interesting, that I could choose like this. Me choosing to let her be who she is, like, brought her to a different level. She chose to go there, but it brought her to a different level. And I'm just, it's a thought. It's something as simple as a thought changed the whole dynamic of everything. So I really hope that you see the power in this kind of work and our thinking. And I'm Christian, so I definitely go back to what the Bible says. And it says think on these things, and they list all these things that are good. And I'm like, well, what if I change from this negative? Like, I did go into foster care. Like, I could think this way about it. It didn't feel good in the moment, but that moment has passed. I'm a grown woman now in charge of my life. So why wouldn't I choose to think this? Why wouldn't I choose to see my mom in a different light? Like, even if she didn't do any of this stuff. I could set boundaries. There's lots of things that I could do to control how I want to feel and how I want to show up in the relationship. So I get when people are like, it's not safe to be around them. Maybe they wouldn't move them into their house, but that's when you create boundaries, which are for you, and we'll get into that. But they are set in place so you can show up loving, you can show up at peace, you can show up compassionate, and control yourself around that person who is being who they are. So I hope that helped today, and I hope you all are having a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.